Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Going Vocal. Today we'll be discussing divorce from a male perspective. This is a perspective that is largely not discussed in the media, and today we'll be handling it, getting wider perspectives around the topic. So I have on the panel with me Mr. Suresh, Mr. Shaji, Mr. Anupam, and Mr. Hemant. And those of you who have been watching our video should be well versed with these panelists here since they've been there with us before. So yes, we'll start off with Anupam. Anupam, what do you feel is this problem? How do you feel that men are affected by the issue of divorce? Primarily, the reason that I'm asking is that, we have a large amount of narratives and stories that center around, that are female centric, that tell us about the difficulties that women face, both socially and, financially. And in other ways, we always tend to say that the woman is more affected. But largely, there is a thought process that this is a traditional perspective, that in the modern world, that this is not largely the case anymore. So how do you think that men are affected when it comes to a divorce?
Thank you, Rahul. Hello, everyone, and hello to my other fellow panelists. Yeah, I think this is the question which is being asked more common these days because of the lot of divorce cases that are happening, and where our laws and most of the things and emotional supports goes with the women. We also have to consider men in this case because the relationship are between two people. But in most of the cases, we see that the emotional support and the other kind of support, people, when you see a woman getting divorced, she will be supported more rather than a man, and men will be in a negative shade whenever we have these kind of things happening in the relationship. So I think as men, we feel that the emotional angle is the most over here happens when there are cases where the men feels that they are being betrayed. Like we have seen that the girl is involved with extramarital affairs with someone, and then where they file a divorce case on behalf of their side and saying that I'm not happy in this relationship, although she had already been there in that relationship with their boyfriend previously as well before the marriage also. So in these cases, I think it goes very emotional side on the male side where they are not able to cope up with these kind of things because and these things happens mainly in the arranged marriages these days. I think there are divorces, most of the divorce cases that were filed before were mostly the love marriage, I would say. But now these days, most of the divorce cases that are happening, it has transitioned into the arranged marriages. And the reason being are these only because people are not very upfront before the marriage. They are afraid of, I think, facing their parents or the societies, saying upfront that I am already in a relationship. But nowadays, it's very common that these things are happening. So men also goes a very traumatic emotional challenge, and they go into very emotional deep state where they are not being supported well by the parents itself, and also sometimes the society is not very supportive. We have seen that many times. Why this happens is like most of the cases you have seen that the laws are also supporting the women only, not men. And in these cases, we feel that there would be some chances
A
from
sort of
the
legal bias towards the
yes bias
female.
towards the
Yes.
female, and we feel that if these things are happening, because whenever we have a divorce case in and around our neighbors, we do not see whose mistake is it, but indirectly the blame goes to the men only, and they cannot explain it to others as well. They cannot go and tell that my wife had an extramarital affair or these kind of things. They cannot talk it openly. But on the other hand, women are mostly supported by others as well. They are easily accepted by the societies also. So I think male as a male, you also have to understand that they also go a lot of trauma and other things because they do not have to only concentrate on their families. They have to see their career as well to support their family. They have to grow in their career. They have to think about the money as well. And not only the emotional aspect, you'll also see that the other factors are also creating issues to the male itself. Like if you see the emotional, sorry, the financial factor, you see most of the even of the even the if the female is also working, still as a male you have to give alimony to your female partner. You have to share your properties as well. So these also create a lot of emotional stress based on these as well comes up, and which is really not supportive to the male side. So I would say a lot of efforts are being taken care here for the women, but also for the male also. There should be some at least thorough check on the relationship status, where the laws could be checking deeply into the affairs that had happened between them, and then based on that, that decision should be taken. And then when it
So
comes
largely,
to
yeah, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
and
Yes.
when it comes to especially in comes of children, the custody is also most of the times you see in most of the cases goes to the mother only. So that is also emotional challenge, because children are very emotional part for everyone, even for male or for female, and then that has to be taken care by the law itself. You see a very less um, time is given to male to go and see their children. And so all those conditions where the divorce is filed and finally signed off, there are a lot of clauses which are supporting women. So this has to change. So this is what I feel though.
Yes, yes. And I think there has also been a large number of recorded suicide cases that have occurred where, post-divorce or in situations where divorce is about to be planned, with men which have been largely ignored by the legal system and by the law in general, or the legislature, even when they form the laws. So they've centrally focused a lot on women as of now, at least. The thing that I would like to discuss is traditional perspectives versus modern perspectives. Okay, so this is something that we need to take a look at. So traditional perspective is it is assumed that the women will largely suffer the consequences of a divorce more than the men will suffer the consequences of a divorce. But things have changed in the nation. We have television, we have a lot of different viewpoints now arising that they're being pushed into the youth of today. So we have a lot of perspectives that are different, and we see a rising number of divorce cases in the nation that here. We also tend to have a increase of women in the workforce. I think at least 40% of the workforce must be women today and 60% men. Even though it is slightly dominated by men, I think there is a large percentage of women now that are employed. And how, Shaji, do you think this affects the legal system? Do you think the law is keeping up with that? Or do you think that the law still sees the man as the sole provider and the protector? Whereas at today's world, things have come to a change. What is your opinion?
It is true that there is a drastic change in the circumstances of our society, and because ladies are working and they are earning. In some cases, they are earning more than their husbands, and the perspective of the society has been changed a lot. It's true, but the intention of the legislature is that the girls as well as the family members are to be protected by a man. That is the main core aspect of our legislature. That
But
is why
do you think under if the intention does not support the reality, do you think that that intention is correct? Like, would it be, for instance, for us to consider something awkward, like let's say unreal? Can we have an intent over something that is unreal, that does not really function anymore, or is dysfunctional today? When you say the man should be the protector, he must have means of protection. So all the jobs must go to the man, all the available jobs going to the man, the financial disposition being available with the man is when he is considered as the sole protector. Otherwise, is there anything? Because there are lots of worlds where women alone take care of the families, where, let's say, for instance, the man has passed away due to maybe a health issue or any other issue. Don't women protect their family? So do you
it's
think
true.
the intention is rendering justice? Is
It's
offering
it's
justice?
true. It's true that ladies are handling their families, but they have some restrictions as far as a woman is concerned. They have some restrictions because they are giving birth to the children, and they are protecting the children in their early ages, and some
But these
restrictions
days,
are
yeah,
some
sorry, these days
restrictions are there,
women
and
they have a lot
and
of paid leaves for maternal leaves and a lot of things like that, isn't it? A lot of such legal, legislation has been passed. So still, you still feel that under such a circumstance, with so much legislation supporting that the justice system should view the man in a situation that he does not exist in today, and that he finds hard to
that fact is,
to.
I think that fact is to be considered in another way, because uh, in our nation, not only in our nation, in the world, as far as in our world is concerned, so many rape cases are there. Rape case
Rape
in many
cases
of
are
the
committed by
in many of the
rape cases are committed by psychopaths and criminals, which should not
not
fall
not
upon the
not only by psychopaths and criminals. In many of the cases, victims are in, I think 95 percentage of the cases, victims are women, not men.
But in many cases, women have
The reason is
falsely
that
accused men. Are we not
the
correct?
reason is that
Many of the cases taking this as an advantage, women have falsely accused men of many things, and there have been
it
many
is true.
cases.
It is true that it is true. So many cases are there. So many false cases are there. But in genuine cases, the victims are women, not men. The reason
Okay.
is that there is difference between men and women. There
There
is
is a
difference
difference
between men
between
and
women.
women, and
But
women are to be protected. Otherwise, there is chance for anarchy in the
okay, may
society.
I ask, what is the question of protection? What is the meaning of protected from what?
Physical protection, monetary protection, family protection. So many types of protections are to be given to the given not only for women, only to the aged people, to the children, to ladies, as well as to the people who are suffering a lot.
Okay,
That is why
we don't
that
deny
is
that
why
protection should be given, not be given to women from physical issues and other forms of protection, like you have mentioned, like from dowry harassment. But Suresh, I would like to ask you: do you feel this protection uh, should go the way it has gone in terms of modern legal system, or do you feel that men should still have a kind of justice implemented for them when it comes to, or a society that thinks about them as well? Let's look at it that way, that thinks about their perspectives, their positions, their emotional situations as well. The reason I'm asking is that we have a large number of suicide cases that have recently been reported, which have not been, which have been on men, which have been, men have committed that suicide. So yes, Suresh, your opinion?
Yes, I agree with all the panelists have said. When we compare the Indian women with our Western counterparts, our women are not so courageous or self-sufficient like the Europeans or the Americans. In Europe or America, if a woman get divorced, she can stay alone. She can rent a flat and live independently because she has her own income, her own job. So nobody interferes in her matter. But in India society, our cultural, our family bond is something different from that of Europeans. Imagine a woman got divorced and living in a rented house. The society will start accusing her. It is due to her fault that her husband got separated. In Europe, that situation doesn't appear. So, but in India also, the situation has been changing. The women have become self-sufficient. They get job. They have equality in every aspect. You can have a woman conductor, woman driver, woman pilot, woman police officer. So there is equality in job and status. Even though our women do not want to get separate, want to live independently, our society will not accept that. Our traditional, our what you call our conservative society will not tolerate a divorced woman living independently. So it will take time to change uh, to the situation of Europe. But as you said, men are also affected due to divorce. Many false cases are filed in police station and courts, and in many cases, the laws favor the women, and men are subjected to punishment. That happens, I think, in
Okay,
10 or
that's fantastic.
okay.
So me and Shaji had a discussion out of this forum earlier on, and at one stage, and it was discovered that even if a woman is found in a live-in relationship with another man, and and it was completely her fault, the law will tend to ask why will tend to say that it is the man who has committed this atrocity, and it is that for that reason that the woman has chosen to move into a live-in relationship. I believe we had such a discussion once, Shaji, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think the question of the living relationship is something different.
Post-marriage. Post-marriage.
In marriage, I think all the cases, in all the cases, we cannot take a hard and fast rule. All the cases are different, and all the things have to be considered in different perspective. That is why in family courts, evidence has been taken in such a way that all the cases have to be considered in different, considered in its entirety, because some differences of opinion are there, and some issues are there. Some different issues may happen in each and every families. That is to be considered as a single unit. That issue is to be considered cannot be considered as a general thing. It is to be considered as a single one. So the question of living relationship or other relationships are there. That is to be taken into account while taking evidence by the family courts as well as the courts of our country. But generally the issue is different. It is true, men are suffering, women are also suffering, children are suffering. Once earlier Suresh sir pointed out that children are suffering a lot. It is true. But we have to consider all the aspects. That is why I am in a point that we have to protect. Otherwise, if there is no protection from a man or from the society, a girl, a woman is to be in a peril, and she will be subjected for harassment, or she will be attacked by the
I appreciate this particular position many years ago. Definitely when we were young, perhaps this kind of a position was there. But in the modern world, along with the policing systems and technology and advancements in the legal system, it's hard to expect that the male is the sole protector. Okay, so that is what I personally feel. But let's look at a different aspect. Since we've been talking about this for some time. Let's look at a different aspect of divorce and the male perspective. Hemant, divorce as a father. What do you think are the emotional aspects between the father and the child, and how do you think this would affect their psychological positions? Like, what kind of traumas do you think can be experienced, and how do you think that what do you think can be the coping mechanisms? Now, I also between the children and the mother as well, because of this situation that has occurred, a divorce has occurred. How do you think the children can cope up without living with their father, seeing their mother a lot more? How do you think it affects the mother? And what do you think can be done about that?
Thank you, Mr. Rahul. Once again, very nice to be back again on Going Vocal. Very nice question, in fact, because we human beings, whether it's a man or a woman, we are basically, the emotions are the same. So normally divorce occurs because of some differences. It can be because of egos, mainly egos. Now egos have increased because the female has also started earning. Women have become more independent, very professional. I think there is no profession where even the so-called male domination in jobs that is not the case in 2025. I'm talking from the point of view of India. You have women as pilots, you have women as fighters in the military, you have women in all jobs. I think all jobs which are handled by men, women are equally adept in handling it. So yes, as far as divorce is concerned, just as a father, definitely from the father's point of view, definitely in terms of emotional trauma, yes, the law being such that it favors the woman more, he will definitely have an emotional trauma because he will not be able to meet his children or have connection with his children as frequently as it was before the divorce, because the child will be in the custody of the mother. So that is one emotional trauma. Second thing is, of course, the law being such, the financial part of maintaining the family, that is the lady and the child, lifelong. So that will cause another sort of stress to the man. Number three, from my own observance, I always find that I found that if you take, for instance, widows and widower, the female always has the strength to be alone. When a wife loses her husband, that grief will be there initially, but she is able to withstand that and move forward. The male is, in the case of male, it is not like that. I've seen a lot of cases because of that grief of losing his wife. The husband, after some time, within maybe 1 year or so, he passes away. Similarly, in the case of divorce also, the man will not be able, doesn't have that kind of an emotional strength. I'm not saying all men are like that, but the emotional strength, because he's more attached. He has got, not that the ladies also are not attached, but he will not be able to face that separation. So, in short, as far as the emotional part is concerned, yes, trauma of being away from children, of losing his family, and financially maintaining the family lifelong, that is all going to add to his stress. So how do we solve this? How do we solve this means first and foremost, I think divorces ideally should not happen, because it is the children who get affected. For a child, actually both are important. The mother is important, and so is the father important. Because there is a very one of my lawyer friends. Years ago when I met him, he used to say in Malayalam. He was a lawyer. Basically, he was into, of course, commercial law. He used to give a very famous quote in Malayalam. He used to say, "Ammayude lalanam, achchante shasanam." That is the love of a mother and the guidance of a father, both is required for a child. So, child definitely will suffer. The child is not bothered about the law. He or she will definitely suffer. So, if this divorce should not happen, I think there should be better communication between both the partners to avoid divorces. I think many cases egos take precedence over the actual matter. Egos and reasoning. When the ego rises, the reasoning falls down. So difference of opinion is one of the major causes in today's world. Especially, I'm talking from India point of view, That's the reason why divorces happen, because the female has also started earning, isn't it? More, she's as qualified or even more qualified, so she's independent. Even if she divorces, she's independent to carry on responsibility, and she's capable of handling the family responsibility. So communication between two partners will definitely go a long way to reduce divorces.
In fact, in the modern psychology, if you look at a lot of psychologists, they discuss colloquially what's known as daddy issues amongst children. So there are a lot of young girls and young boys who grew up having a distance from their father, growing up psychologically incapable of handling relationships with others, psychologically incapable of looking at the world from a perspective that is not, that is not traumatized. So there is always some kind of trauma that is affecting them whenever they look at their relationships, if their father is not around. Right. I'll throw the question to the open panel. That is, do you guys feel that the law as such, or the justice system, or the legislature should take into consideration this particular fact and give men more access, or do you think that the way it is being done now is sufficient? Of course, I wish that we had some women on the panel. Unfortunately, one of our panelists, so we can't take her perspective. Her perspective would have been very interesting. We're all men here discussing this, but nevertheless, I would like to know what exactly you feel. Do you think that the law should have a change around that? Looking at the children, should there be a case where, we say no, the man should have a certain level of access, a certain level of responsibility still over the child? If we go outside of India, in fact, recently I had met a gentleman, I think he's from Austria, and he was saying that the Austrian legislature, or the Austrian legal system works in a manner where the less time that the child is with the man, the more money the man has to give to the woman. So the woman generally holds back the child in order to gain more money. So, we have a lot of a lot of legislation that is being done, making assumptions of the man being in a particular way. Should we, in order to protect these children from so-called daddy issues that they grow up with at a later stage, is there any way that we can change or have a conversation around the topic and change the way that the legislature views the man in terms of such cases, like divorce cases? Is my question not clear? Some of you look a little bit baffled. Yeah,
it's clear. It's
clear. Suresh sir, is it clear?
Yes.
So, my opinion over here, Rahul, is I think we discussed in the panel, we have said many times that these are modern times where men and women both are equal, both are earning. So in these cases, when both are earning, I think there should be a percentage of time which we can divide equally amongst the men and women when it comes to the custody part. I think that can be taken into account, where right now, if it is not there in the legislation, and through which I think it will be a win-win situation for both of them and for the children as well. And that's the first thing we can do. Other thing we can also do is, if we feel that there's some problems, of course there would be someone because of whom there was a major rift in the relationship. So in that case, we can give the custody more to the other person. Maybe in case of women, if she's not handling it well, she has a lot of she is alcoholic and can be a problem if she is given the custody of children. So in that cases, the government or the legislation should consider that in these cases we can definitely give more custody to the father itself rather than the women. And like Shaji said, it should be, each and every case should be handled case by case. And with modern things, we can also take help of modern technology and AIs, and through which we can consider or map the behavior of each parent, maybe a mother or father, and based on that we can also take help of a technology that who is more emotionally stable and whose decisions will help the child's progress in the future, and these kind of things we can take, and definitely a change of strategy on the law part is is imperative.
Okay. Any other suggestions on this question? Any other?
Yes, I also endorse those views that in all the divorce cases, the women are the culprit. In many cases, men are also responsible for divorce, and also in some cases, women are also responsible. So each case should be handled separately. If we say that in a particular case the husband is responsible for divorce, in another case it may be the wife, and in other cases the family members also contribute to the divorce cases. The father-in-law, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, they are also responsible for the breaking of the couple.
Yes.
And also in some cases, the family, the society, we can in the modern digital world or social media platform, we can see the scandalous videos sometimes lead to divorce cases. So yeah, in each case we have to study separately. In some cases it may be husband, in some cases it may be wives, and in some cases the in-laws and the society.
Okay.
That is
Now,
my opinion.
recently, I had come across a lawyer and we were discussing a certain issue where he told me a case where a woman had eloped with another man, although she was married and she had a child. I think the child was 2 or 3 years old. I'm not sure. And she had eloped with another man. But she eloped with another man, and she came back 6 or 7 months later and claimed the child. The husband didn't give her access to the child, and went to a legal proceeding. And the judge immediately asked for the child to be given to the woman, and access restricted for the man. Okay, so this particular case was very interesting. Uh, and the question I have here is, do you think these levels of bias that is today sometimes prevalent and sometimes being seen by the justice system, do you feel, or by the way that society considers these cases, do you feel that they are brought about by a prism of thought that only looks at the criminal aspects of certain men, like for instance a rapist in Calcutta, or a particular murder case, in a dowry murder case that is conducted, maybe 2 or 3 dowry murder cases across the nation? Do you think that this is the prism through which we are making such a suggestion, or saying that a woman who has eloped with another man can have access to the child? I mean, of course, maybe a mother requires access to a child. Definitely, I don't deny it, whether she has eloped or not. That is something that should be passed through. It's a case that has to be judged by a wise judge, so to speak. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to say is immediately giving her access, although she's with another man, and the other man may not have those kind of emotional feelings that a father has, and it may go in any way that it can, they may have another, there could be emotional trauma that the child faces seeing a new man all of a sudden in the house. Yet the judge has passed such a judgment. Do you think that these judgments are being passed by that prism of thought that looks at the man only as the criminal because 3 or 4 of them have raped somewhere, or some criminal has raped somewhere? Shaji, this one is for you. I would like to hear your opinions.
The relation between a father and child, as well as mother and child, has no role with the relation between husband and wife, because husband and wife can divorce and they can separate, but father and child, or mother and child, cannot separate at all. That is why that is why that Rahul sir point out that a lady came back after 7 or 8 months after her elopement with another man. She came and claimed the child, and the court was bound to give custody of the child to the mother, because the relation between mother and the child is something different. It is true she divorced her husband. She left her husband, left her family, etc., etc. But it is not good to deny access of that mother child.
But
That
I
is
believe that
equivalent
the
to
father was denied access in this particular case.
no, no, no. It is father has also right to get access. If the father married another woman and living with her with that girl, she is also entitled to get the custody to get access of that child.
Okay.
Some changes are there because if a child is about 12 years,
Yeah,
if
although
a
my
child is
question was
about
generally, yeah, sorry. My question was generally, yeah, of course, you've answered the question to some extent. You're saying that there is no such prism of thought that is doing anything as such. We are a little short of time. That's the reason I've cut in to the conversation. So my assumption is that you are saying that we are not, there is no such prism of thought that exists, and the legal system looks at the fact that the man and the woman both, their relationship with the child has nothing to do with their relationship to each other, and there is no such prism of thought that rapists or murderers or dowry murders that have occurred that have incited legislation to be passed that would support the women, right? I assume that is what you are saying. Unfortunately, we are short of time with just another few minutes to go. Is there anything that you would like to add for a minute or so? You may, anything at all? Yeah. So, okay, then we'll wind it up for today. And we thank our audience for listening into this podcast. And we hope to see, generally a lowering of divorce cases in the nation, happier couples, and happier children. So, yes, have a good day. We'll meet for the next podcast. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.